Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today, just a second, I can't do two things at once. Will be delivered by Pastor Stephen Klein from the Lake Country Church. Thank you for coming out. Good to see you again. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, God, we thank you so much for the break in weather, God, that we have cool weather. God, I pray that you would anoint all of us, everyone in this room, to make good decisions, to make right decisions, to have wisdom, to have strength, to do the right thing. God, I pray that you would minister to our men and women serving overseas, that you would minister to our police officers, that you would minister to our firefighters, and all those that are hurting and suffering in our country. God, I pray that you would speak, and that, God, we would hear your voice. That, God, we would no longer stand to the side, but that we would draw a line in the sand, and that we would stand for you. Father God, I pray that you would bless us, that, God, you would bless our nation, and that, God, you would speak. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Pastor, for coming out today. Appreciate it. Mr. Manius?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have several announcements as related to the agenda this morning. We'll start in the administrator's office, item 9A9. There is a revised court communication in your red folders relates to that particular item. Also under the administrator's office, item 9A10. There's also a revised court communication. On both of those, there was some, we corrected some of the backup as related to those two items. Members of the court, we can go to budget risk management. Item 9C1. There is one substitute page that we put into the special purpose budgets. Schneider will talk about that when she comes up in just a minute. And then finally, board members, under public health, under 9G3. This is the breast and cervical cancer services grant contract renewal. We ask that we hold that for 1 week. Also, members of the court, I'd like to remind the court and to the members of the audience that our Commissioners Court meeting, which was scheduled for October 11th, has been canceled. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of September the 20th.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Proclamations. Commissioner Fickus, you have a proclamation?
I do. And I believe we have somebody here, maybe.
We
Jennifer Gilly?
Jennifer Gilly.
Jennifer's here.
Why don't you come up there and I'm going to read this and I'll bring this down and give it to you. So, this is Opiate Prevention Week. And whereas Challenge of Tarrant County's Stay on Track Coalition hosted a one-day symposium entitled When the Prescription Becomes a Problem, a community response to the opium epidemic, to mobilize community leaders and stakeholders. And whereas approximately 800 attendees, including elected officials, healthcare providers, law enforcement personnel, social workers, treatment professionals, and citizens learned why people become addicted to opiate pain medication, current trends and data related to the use nationwide, and how to change the epidemic. And whereas speakers were Lieutenant Helen Hernandez with the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, John R. Parker, who is the United States Attorney for the Northern District of Texas, and Police Chief Leonard Capanello from Gloucester, Massachusetts, who was named a White House Champion of Change. And whereas the symposium on September 22nd, 2016 included information on opiate abuse and addiction, which is a problem in our nation and state and negatively impacts our citizens and communities. And whereas Challenge of Tarrant County is sponsoring Dr. Don Teeter, former medical advisor for the National Safety Council, to conduct more presentations in Tarrant and Parker counties. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, hereby proclaim the week of September 19th through 23rd, 2016 as Opiate Prevention Week in Tarrant County and congratulate Challenge of Tarrant County Stay on Track Coalition for their efforts in educating communities on the opiate problem in our nation and state. In witness hereof, we have hereunto set our hand and caused a seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 27th day of September 2016, and I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Present this to you. You want a few minutes?
Not too many minutes.
Commissioner
Welcome. It's good to
Vickers.
see you.
Good to see you, Judge Whitley, members of the court. If I may, I would like to introduce a few members of the coalition who are with me today. Amanda Robbins is with the Fort Worth Safe Communities Coalition. Kathy Lenning is a parent and community
Y'all
volunteer.
stand up. Y'all stand up.
Tony Thompson with Santa Fe Youth Services, a division of YAP. Stacy Hayhurst from Clear Fork Academy, and Galen Montemayor with the Keller ISD. Americans compose 5% of the world's population, and yet we consume 81% of its opioids. 259 million prescriptions for opioids were written last year. That's enough for every American adult to have a full-time supply for 1 month around the clock. And this is the result in the U.S. 78 people die every day from an opiate overdose. 1 baby is born every hour addicted to opiates in this country. Over 10 million Americans report that they have used opiates for non-medical purposes. 25% of individuals who receive prescription opiates for non-cancer pain in primary care settings will develop an addiction. 6 out of 10 Americans keep unused opioid prescriptions in their medicine cabinets, suggesting that doctors overprescribe the amount and that we as citizens do not know how to adequately dispose of them. We're in the midst of a public health crisis, an epidemic. Counted among the dead are men, women, children, the elderly, every ethnicity, every economic bracket, every profession and trade, every state and community. As the Surgeon General has stated, everyone is potentially at risk and no one is protected. If we're to change the course of this epidemic, we must engage in best practices. Number 1, prescriber education and prescribing guidelines as set forth by the CDC. Number 2, safe and effective disposal of unused prescriptions. And number 3, access to naloxone and quality treatment for addiction that includes medication-assisted therapies. On behalf of Challenge and the Stay on Track Coalition, I want to thank the court for this proclamation and for your long-standing history of providing strong leadership and sound public policy focused on individuals and families. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Your Honor, just as a reminder, naloxone is one of those items that is available through the U.S. Communities Program through NACO to communities, to first responders, and to others, and they get a very good price through U.S. Communities, Jack, for naloxone.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a certificate of appreciation. Let me read this. It's going to be presented to Susan Crenshaw, an appreciation for her dedication and leadership and service to the community as a member of the Tarrant County Child Protective Services Board from 1999 until 2016. Our sincere thanks accompany this expression of recognition and gratitude. Susan and her late husband, Dr. Chuck Crenshaw, have been friends of mine for many, many years. And after his untimely death, I approached Susan to see if she would consider serving on the Child Protective Services Board. She graciously accepted this invitation and did a tremendous job out there for many years. And I don't know how else to say it except thank you, Susan, for all of those years and your dedication to the kids of our community. If you would meet me down at the podium, please.
You're making that in the form of a motion, right?
That is a motion.
And I'll second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Just I hope I don't sneeze.
Well, if you start sneezing, we may both sneeze.
Well, okay.
But Susan, I want to present this to you. You just don't know how much you mean to me.
I'll turn around there and let them get a picture.
And any comments you'd like to make and suggestion to the replacements on the board for you and what the board needs to do?
Okay, yeah, let me just say a few words.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of the support we've received from the Tarrant County Commissioners and from the judge and from the ladies and gentlemen of their staffs. I can hardly thank them enough. We're such a lucky CPS board in the state. We're the envy of the state as far as the Child Protective Services people say. It's been a privilege to really do this for 17 years. I have loved it and will still be doing it if my health wasn't so bad right now. I just sneeze all the time. Not really. No, we have had many people come and go, but I think the Tarrant County Board is so strong because we have such great commissioners that really back us. We also have been privileged to receive positions and money from them. The state gives you very meager resources to take care of these children. And as you all know, we have a crisis in Texas of our child welfare system. And we are so lucky here because we have problems in Tarrant County, but they're not like the problems that they have all over the state. And that's because we've had such strong leadership and continue to have strong leadership. Our county commissioners have graciously given us the funds to hire other units for our Tarrant County caseworkers. We have great supervisors. We have people because we have support. And, you know, I'm not one that does bake sales and snow cones and peanuts and things like that. But there are so many county boards that have to do that because they have no money. And fortunately, y'all have been so graciously taken care of us that we haven't had to do that. So thank you, sirs. And to your staff, who've always been so very helpful. It's been a great 17 years. And that's what Debbie and I were talking a while ago, and she said, oh my gosh, she's worked here nearly twice that long. I went, oh my gosh. But it has been tremendous. Thank you so much for all of your energy and for what you put into our county also. Thank you, JD, for appointing me, and to each of you for supporting us.
Thank you.
Susan, we can't thank you enough for all the hard work you do in that board. They do God's work, I'll guarantee you, out there. And they take it very, very seriously, as they should. So it's, Susan's one of the ones that's been.
We're going to miss her help in Austin too. She
Yeah.
was very good about going to Austin and doing the hard work that other people don't want to do, and we appreciate all of that, Susan, very much.
Thank you. Okay, next we have a couple of we have the consent agenda.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
With the
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have a couple of public hearings. The first one is to consider the annual plan of preservation and restoration of the county clerk's archives.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
I would like to ask the court to conduct a public hearing on the 2017 Preservation and Restoration Plan. And immediately following the conclusion of the public hearing, I would ask the court to approve the plan.
At this time, I'll open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak to this plan. There appearing to be none, then I'll close the public hearing and ask for action from the court.
Move for approval.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll consider the annual plan for the preservation and restoration of the district clerk's records archive.
Judge and members of the Commissioners Court, I too ask for approval of this year's plan. We have records going back all the way into the 1880s. The preservation of these is funded by a special fee that the legislature authorized y'all to impose, and therefore is not coming out of the general fund. And I would ask for our plan to be approved for 2017.
This time, I'll open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak to this matter. There being none, then I will close the public hearing.
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Mr. Manius?
Thank you, Your Honor. We have 7 additional items for the court this morning. Item number 1, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve a letter of engagement between the county and Deloitte & Touche to serve as the county's outside auditor for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2016.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, we could go to item number 2. We're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve the Tarrant County 911 Emergency Assistance District's fiscal year 2017 budget.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, on item number 3, we're requesting that the court approve the retention and professional services agreement between Tarrant County and the listed law firms in your court communication to serve as special counsel for Tarrant County in the investigation, pursuing of claims and settlement against Visa and MasterCard.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, on item number 4, Mr. Schaffner is going to make this presentation.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. We're requesting approval of a contract between Tarrant County and Catholic Charities, Diocese of Fort Worth, related to a Precinct 2 anti-poverty program, pilot program that Commissioner Wynn and his staff has been working with Catholic Charities for this specific pilot program. Happy to have if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. We also have a representative from Catholic Charities available to take any questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Since Mr. Schaffner is new to the organization, we thought we'd get him up in front of the court. We were expecting some grilling by the court members, but apparently we'll get him up again next time.
Give us a little warning next time.
Members of the court, we can go to item number 5. We're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve the Texas Prosecutor 2017 Resource Sharing Addendum between Tarrant County and the CUC Texas Program and participants.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, on item number 6, we're also requesting Commissioners Court approval on Texas Juvenile and Juvenile Case Management System. This is basic 2017 Resource Sharing Addendum between Tarrant County and the CUC and participants.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Finally, members of the court, on item number 7, this is also a TechShare program. We're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve the FY 2017 TechShare Indigent Defense Resource Sharing Addendum between Tarrant County and the CUC and participants. I would like to say that this entire project here has been funded in the past by the State Indigent Council.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have
Please
one
vote.
question.
Yes.
Can you explain the difference between the Indigent Defense Enhancement Project versus the Fair Indigent Defense System? Are these two different set of software, or
No, it's not two different sets of software.
what are they?
The first one was a development process that originated out of Bell County.
Okay.
And since then, there have been additional counties that have joined into this program. In fact, I don't know exactly how many, but there's about 10 or 12 right now that are part of that program. It's a very good program.
Is it a program or is it a software?
It's a software.
It's a software, okay.
One important thing that, and I think that we had a presentation not last week, but the week before last, as related to this software, where that payment to the processing of payments to the defense councils have been expedited.
Okay.
And it is actually shown that it's freed up resources in the criminal court administration section. So it is a very good piece of software and well received across the state.
Okay, so basically, this is an enhancement to the older version.
Yes.
Basically, an upgrade.
It's a rewrite and an enhancement.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, GK.
Ms. Tidwell.
Good morning. We have several items we're asking the court to consider this morning. The first is approval of the Federal Home Loan Bank of Chicago's irrevocable letter of credit as collateral in an amount not to exceed $150 million. We talked about this several weeks ago now. I've been working with J.P. Morgan Chase and the DA's office to craft the wording of the actual letter of credit, and we have been presented that now by J.P. Morgan Chase and the Federal Home Loan Bank. So today we're asking for your approval of that letter of credit.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The next item then would be approval of release and substitution of depository collateral for the $150 million. As described in your attached communique, and that now the letter of credit will take the place of this $150 million. The rest of the county's collateral of up to over $300 million will remain in the same form as prior.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And the last item is asking that you receive and file the Tarrant County financial statements for the period ended August of 2016.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Ms. Snyder.
Well, as I say every year, we're presenting today the special purpose budget since the official last act of the 2017 budget development. As GK mentioned, we did update one of the pages. It is page 94. We got notice of a late deposit that Human Services made from one of our utility assistance vendors, and it was significant enough to go ahead and recognize. Your books have been updated as well as the electronic court book. There are no questions. We are recommending its approval.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our next item is a recommendation by the Risk Management Board. We're recommending the payment of 2 claims that are listed on your court communication to Tim Pierce and DFW Collision Centers of West Grapevine and Robert Taylor.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Whoop.
On many levels.
I move to receive and file the personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the personnel agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, Rob.
Our next item is approval of an out-of-class pay extension for the Sheriff's Department. This would be an extension through December 31st. This is their second extension. There is no cost because it is offset by salary savings.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our next item is approval of an extension of a project employee or employment by the district clerk's office. This is a 1-year extension. This is not a general fund cost, so there will be no cost. And this is related to the destruction of paper records, and these individuals have been working on this project.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our next item and final item is approval of an extension of project employment for the medical examiner's office. This is an extension of this employee through the end of December of this year. Again, this is not a general fund, and this has to do with a project related to DNA capacity enhancement. Easy for me to say.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vinnie. How are you?
Your Honor, members of the court. We have one item before you requesting approval of interim financing for FY17 Texas Department of State Health Services refugee grant contract. Now, the history or the background behind this is that since last week, we've had some discussions with DSHS, and they've sent us a letter reassuring us that they're still working with the feds to see if their plan can be approved, but it's getting so close to the end of the year that they're not very hopeful. And if that does not happen by either September 30th, where they either have an approval or some communication from the feds what the intent is, they will consider a no answer as a rejection of their plan. And then they have made their intent clear that they're going to send a letter of intent to leave the refugee program, which starts a timeline of about 4 months that the feds have to find another contractor to disseminate the dollars. So for that 4 months, they will be providing us federal grant dollars while they plan to exit out of the program. So at the minimum, they've reassured us that we will have funding for 4 months to continue the program. So today we're requesting your approval to interim finance the program salaries for about 2 months. There will be no impact to general fund. We're doing this with our own 1115 Medicaid dollar revenues that have been earned through this program.
I'll move approval with a comment.
Yes, sir.
Can I get a second before we comment?
Second.
Go right ahead.
4 months doesn't give the legislature any time at all to put anything in place to replace these resources in our community. And to me, it seems irresponsible to put things on such a short timeline.
Let me be sure I understand. When you said they'll have 4 months to contract with, are you talking about the feds will contract with somebody else?
Correct.
So who would they be able to contract with?
Right. So there's a lot of discussion. There's a model that has been used in some other states that have exited the program. I believe it's called the Wilson Fish model. What that does is they look for volunteer agencies that may be willing to be the administrative agency, if you will, to handle the dollars. A lot of times in many states, and the example that they've given us have been all states that have expanded Medicaid, where they've distributed this to several entities: public health, FQHCs, private providers, other healthcare entities. So we've had some discussions saying, in Texas we have 7 or 8 health departments that are sort of the main entry points, and they have these well set up staffing structures and well organized clinics that are the first point of entry. So we'd like the opportunity to work with the Federal Office of Refugee Resettlement to see if there are any opportunities to direct fund these local health departments or ensure that the funding does come to them, because I think it would be not beneficial for Texas to distribute this out.
But what we're saying, though, is right now, the federal government sends the refugees.
Yes, sir.
I know that what the state, and I don't disagree totally with what they're wanting a little bit more screening, but regardless, the refugees are coming here for all over the world.
Correct.
So with them comes whatever they brought with them.
Correct.
And you do the health checkup to make sure that their vaccinations are up to speed. If they have some problems, you work with them on those problems. So that's going to continue to happen.
Absolutely.
So if the state doesn't enter into that contract, is there anything, do I hear you saying that you could actually enter into direct contract with the government?
Well, so we don't
Federal
know that
government.
for sure. What we're asking is that you all, and of course, our HHSC and DSHS help advocate that, because we don't know what the feds will intend to do at this point. We've looked at other models in other states, and in some of those states, they've contracted out with volunteer agencies that act as the central contracting agency, and then they subcontract with a variety of entities. What our stance is, and I'm speaking generally for public health in Texas here, a lot of our health departments are saying that will not be a good thing for Texas, because we will let the existing infrastructure wither away and things will get distributed. So we'd like the opportunity to speak with the feds, and of course you all can help us with that, to make sure that they understand that the infrastructure here in Texas is very different. We have very strong public health departments who have handled this program very well over the last few years, and would like to explore the opportunity for either direct funding or ensure some intermediary will contract with us, because we don't really want the funding going to several different entities.
Well, I guess the main concern I have is that the federal government's sending them here regardless. They're going to be in the lines at the grocery stores, they're going to be in schools, they're going to be throughout our community, and I think it's critical that we continue the effort of protecting the health of all of our citizens. Absolutely. From that standpoint. I would suggest that you get with Casey.
Correct.
Casey Pipes,
yes, sir.
If you haven't been, maybe you and he make a trip.
I've already spoken with.
It may be worthwhile to visit with our representatives as they come home, but also it may be worthwhile to actually go up and visit with someone in D.C. about that possibility, so that we don't get to the end of December with a huge unfunded mandate, or January, whatever the case may be from that standpoint.
You mentioned 7 or 8 large public health departments across the state that have been the primary entry points for this population. Are you suggesting that the federal government contract with them individually or as a collaborative?
Well, that remains to be explored. Depending on how the conversations go, they might want to work with one entity, saying we're going to work with one volunteer agency, but with the understanding that these 7 or 8 health departments have infrastructure to handle the work that was already being done. Or they might say, well, we are okay with you forming a regional model that one entity handle north side of Texas, the other handle south side of Texas. We don't know. Those conversations have not yet occurred, because the conversations that are occurring right now are between HHSC and the feds. We have been asking them to get us in the conversation, because if they're going to exit out of this, we have a vested interest in having that conversation directly with the feds.
Would the contract come with sufficient administrative overhead for us to staff up to be the administrative agency?
We really hope so. At the state level, it does come with that. They have a refugee grants coordinator that's funded through the grant administrative overhead. So we believe that if it were to be a similar model, it would have administrative dollars built in. But again, I don't know those details till we actually have that conversation.
Thank you.
We need to maybe communicate with the other, as you mentioned, 7 or 8 large. I'm assuming that most of the refugees are brought in. I know in our area we have Catholic Charities. We have the World, is it the World Refugee?
I don't remember their name, but a lot of our...
There's 3 agencies, I think, within Tarrant County that actually are accepting refugees as they're sent to us from the federal government.
Correct.
I'm
Those
assuming
3 are the
that
main...
there's certain locations around the state and that we could identify those, and that probably they're primarily in your large urban counties, such as...
They are, and I remember one small health department in the city of Amarillo. They do also serve through this program, and I think they're the only small one, if I can recall correctly. But it's mostly Tarrant, Dallas, Harris County, San Antonio, I believe, Austin, Travis County. So some of the larger cities. But the impact, again, we're the entry point. Folks stay here for a few months till they get settled with family, and then they relocate to Denton County, Collin County, all over the place. So it is not that the impact will go unnoticed for other communities if we don't do this right.
Absolutely.
Vinny, Tahoe is, your state association is also taking the lead on this, are they not?
Correct. Yes, sir. They have written letters to, obviously, the governor's office and our DSHS commissioner. They've also sent letters to the Office of Refugee Resettlement, the federal office, to indicate our concerns that I outlined today.
Okay. Any other questions? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vinny. Please I know you will, keep us up to date on how that's going. Mr. Beecham.
Come on down.
At least you're not having to pull a dog with you.
That doesn't look like a Razorback sweater.
You'd think Facilities would lower the air a little bit if he was a good guy, but...
He just grinning.
Extension 1133, which is my direct line, will be answered except for a call from Debbie, Bill Riley, or McMillan today. Rob Cox is going to give our agenda. Good to see all of you this morning.
I kind of looked and wondered if he was going to be here today, but I didn't see him. Oh, there he is. You kind of changed your places. You afraid I was going to call on you if I didn't?
No, I'll still come up, sir.
You were awful slow the last time I called. Go right ahead.
The Lord works in mysterious ways, but he has messed with me on game days. That's all I got to say. I was able to see Jerry swoop in the new Cowboy helicopter. Understand he left early. I should have hitched a ride because I stayed at the bitter end. We have 7 items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for RFP 2016-175, saying a contract for structured cabling materials and services. Recommendation be to award per the contract terms, awarding to the primary and secondary vendors as shown in your court communique.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 2 is another bid award recommendation for bid 2016-185, issuing a contract for the purchase of pickups, vans, and utility vehicles. Recommendation would be to award on a per-enterprise basis, awarding sections 1, 2, and 3 to the primary vendors as shown in your court communique.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 3 is another bid award recommendation for bid 2016-197, stating a contract for copier maintenance, supplies, and repairs. Recommendation be to award a per enterprise basis, awarding to Neville Document Solutions.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 4 is also a bid award recommendation for bid 2016-201. This is annual contract for Digitech Systems Paper Flow and Paper Vision Software Licensing and Maintenance for the County Clerk's Office. The recommendation will be toward a per unit price basis to the primary and secondary vendors as shown in the court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 5, again, is a bid award recommendation for bid 2016-211. This annual contract for short-term and long-term rental of cars, trucks, and vans. Recommendation be toward a per enterprise basis, awarding to the primary and secondary vendors as shown in your court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number 6 is another bid award recommendation for bid 2016-216. It's a bid for maintenance of DVTEL video management systems for various Tarrant County buildings. Recommendation be toward a per enterprise basis, awarding to EMC Integrated Systems Group.
Move for approval with one question.
I'll second, so we can ask his question.
Is this a SAM EMC Enterprise Storage Company? Or is this a different EMC company?
He's got his head down back there. He can't see you.
I don't know what the other EMC is, so
Don't know. Okay.
I can certainly find out and get back to you pretty quickly. I believe it's the same group, but I don't be sure.
Okay, there's an EMC company that handle our enterprise storage.
Yes,
right?
Yes, sir.
And then this is about the video recording and storage and so forth for the camera systems around the building.
Yes, sir.
The campuses and so
Yes,
forth,
sir.
right? Okay. Well, if you can find out for me, that'd be
Yes,
good.
sir, I will.
Thank you.
And our last item,
Can I vote?
You have a motion and a second.
I know. I thought we might ought to vote. Get ahead of yourself there. I know you want to get away, but
I kind of do.
Motion passes unanimously.
Number 7, our last item is again a bid award recommendation for bid 2016-217. It's our annual contract for the purchase of sedans. Recommendation would be toward a per enterprise basis, awarding to the 13 primary vendors as shown in court communique.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy that sweater today.
Looks good in purple, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's maroon.
That's purple.
Not purple.
Are there any appointments today?
From Arkansas, it's purple.
I would like to appoint Arthur Lee Jackson to the Child Protective Services Board, replacing Charles Keeley III.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. You have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manius?
Your Honor, we do not have any briefing items for the court this morning.
Then we will recess our open meeting and proceed to close to discuss items exempted under sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code.
Living back whole life.
I don't think we
I
got
got a ton of what rain and stuff with Fort Worth.
I was out there for a soccer game Saturday afternoon. I think we just beat the rain.
I was going, yeah, it was over by then.
Having returned from our closed session, there being no business to conduct at this time, we are adjourned. You going with us? Yeah, I can.